Abhinav, I was in fact fortunate to see you fight all the way to that gold in Beijing. I still remember the front page of one of the Chinese newspapers which had your photo, and simply the headline was, it said, "Finally." Perhaps till that moment, Indian sport could never collectively believe that it was possible to win individually.
Well, of course, for me personally, it was a great moment. But I think for me, the greatest thrill on that particular day was to be able to shoot the 10 best shots of my life when it counted the most. This is what I had trained for. I went into Beijing very detached from outcomes. What my goal was to be the best that I could be. We had 60 shots in qualification and 10 shots in the final at that point of time. So it meant that I had 70 competitions to compete in. And I was competing really against my own self. And the real goal was to be able to give it my best every single shot and just try and stay in the moment and not really worry about the outcome too much. I remember going into Beijing in a very interesting state of mind, because just before I boarded my flight, or the night before I boarded my flight into to Beijing, I looked myself in the mirror and I asked myself the question: have I given it all I could in the last 4 years to prepare for these Olympic Games? And I was a person very critical of my own self. And the answer was yes. So even before I shot the first shot of the Olympic competition in Beijing, I was already a winner. I was a winner in my own eyes. And that really mattered to me. And, I was never an athlete who was able to really attain self-belief, but I had my self-respect. And that really mattered to me individually, it really mattered to me personally. And that really gave me the security to go out there and do what I had to do, and really be focused on the job of executing good shots, one after the other. And that's what I just tried to do.
Leander, just listening to Abhinav there, you were inside that Beijing village when he won it. Can you sort of recollect the euphoria of what it meant to all of you back then?
I'm so proud of you as a young champion. I mean, you really epitomize what the grace and culture of what a champion should be, and the way you conduct yourself, the way you actually go out and support young athletes to become champions just like yourself. But that day in Beijing, you made me really proud. You made me really proud to be an Indian. You made me really proud to be an athlete in our Indian contingent at the Olympics. And you definitely etched your way into legendary status. You're in the history books forever. Well done.
Abhinav, Sydney was your first games. Sydney was when Leander was the flag bearer. He'd just gone out there in 1996 and won that medal. And that medal came in singles. That's the beauty, isn't it? I mean, here was a boy who always sort of, wanted to go out there and beat the odds. And he goes and does it in singles. And that rubbed off on a lot of young sports persons in the next 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely. I think the Atlanta games, the first games I actually followed, and I watched them on television. And I remember watching the opening ceremony even in Atlanta, and of course following Leander and him winning that bronze medal was a defining moment for me as well, because it gave me the inspiration, it gave me the motivation to really follow my dreams, really aspire to firstly just compete in an Olympic Games and to become an Olympian. And of course, once Leander had won in Sydney, remember Malaysia winning, in 2004, Rathore winning, everybody was just raising the bar, and each of these athletes who've medaled, and even the athletes who haven't medaled, they all inspired me throughout the journey, because, athletes are overcoming all odds from day to day, and they inspire me to a great, great degree. So Leander has a lot of, I owe a lot to him as well for providing me that motivation as a young boy.
Yes, and that's why Leander Paes is sort of one of the reasons I reached out to him. Was I said it all started with you, so you've got to be on this show as we look ahead to the games. But Leander, you were told, well done for reaching the medal rounds. Thank you, beta. Pat on the back. Well done. It's okay, even if you don't win, it doesn't make a difference. But as I was telling Abhinav, your achievement perhaps remains one of the greatest underdog stories in sport, because I think no one apart from you and your father believed that you could win a medal in men's singles.
I think growing up in India, Diggy, you always are playing the underdog. I think growing up in India, and especially in the two sports that Abhinav and myself play in, the odds are against you. You know, there's a huge history and tradition in shooting and culture in our country. In tennis, there's a little bit of a history with Ramanathan Krishnan and the Amrit Raj family. But really, the infrastructure that both of us had to grow up in, or the lack of infrastructure that we had to grow up in, made our disciplines very difficult to win a medal. Growing up in India, you have to have a very deep sense of self-belief. You have to have a very deep sense of courage, you know, and not everyone has that self-belief, you know. I mean, Abhinav is so graciously saying that he didn't necessarily have that self-belief, but he had the self-worth when he looked in that mirror. And that's a huge thing. You know, for us athletes, we don't have an organization that pays for our equipment or pays for our travel or pays for our hotels or our coaching or our staff. We have to do it ourselves, and it's a family effort. And that's why I recognize the champ. It's a family effort. So in that, I think that the belief system that my parents created for me and this fire that burned in my belly to emulate my father was really what stood me in good stead.